Have you had haunted experiences?
I have.
See, that's what we need to hear about.
Tell us a ghost story.
Yeah.
Let me back away.
I just went on a ghost hunt last week, and it was my birthday. My wife took me out to this haunted B&B, so we're like super intrigued by these stories now.
It's hard to tell in a short amount of time because there's a lot of detail in it. But I mean, basically, I once Brett James was my publishing boss, who has this really old house built in the 1800s that he purchased because he wanted a really cool vibe for writers to write in and not feel this sterile environment. But
here in Nashville?
Yeah, when he bought it, it was in the contract. The guy told him, he said, "Look, I have to tell you this place is haunted. We had it cleansed by a priest, but I have to tell you this, So Brett was like, whatever, and got the place anyway. So I noticed that I came home and I was watching TV and laid on the couch and it was like I was not writing like I once was. And so I asked Brett if I could go and live in that tiny room upstairs at the publishing house. And kind of the hot water didn't work upstairs, so I took cold showers for a whole year when I was home. And that was after I was sitting on like 3 number ones. I was living in that little room and I was trying to make myself feel like I was still at the very bottom.
To work harder.
And I wrote the whole Wild Ones record during that time. But about a few months into it, I started having like little stuff, little by little. The lights coming on and off, that kind of thing. But nothing where, it was things where I was like, that's just whatever. And then it would get more and more severe. I would come downstairs, in the middle of the night, maybe to get some water or whatever, and really old sink, and the switch was underneath the sink, and I'd be walking off, going back upstairs, and that garbage disposal would cut on full blast. And it's really loud. It's a really old one.
Yeah, jarring.
And then it would cut off, and I would look under the sink, and the switch is off. And I mean, every hair is just standing up, on my arm, thinking about it, and then I left, and I'd go to walk, and it cut back on. Stuff like that started happening. And then all the sensors, like I'd be in the house, and the motion sensors, unless you walked in front of them, they wouldn't go off. Oh. And I'd be sitting like on the other end of the room, and they all start kind of going crazy. And then, one night I was laying in my bed, and I told Sean around this time, my manager, I was like, hey, if you don't mind, kind of start checking around town for a place for me, because I think I might get one soon. And
immediately,
I remember laying in my bed one night, and this is clear, so clear, right by my head. I lived in this tiny little room. I was sleeping on a twin mattress, and right by my head, I was hearing a broom sweeping.
Oh, hell no.
For about 5 seconds, and I sat up in my bed, and I sat there for 2 or 3 seconds, just in dead silence, and just, did I really just hear a broom? I lay back down, and then sure enough, it would fire back up. I literally sat up in my bed, and I said this. I literally sat up and said, hey, look, I was trying to calm myself. I said, clean all you want. I'm going to lay back down and go to bed. And then the kicker happened. I came back.
That wasn't
the kicker? That was the kicker.
Okay, we were already moving out, dude.
I'll never be able to explain this to anyone, the severity of this, but I was laying in my bed about 3 o'clock in the morning. And it sounded like there was someone covering every single inch and fiber of every single wall, every single floor, ceiling of that place. And on the count of 3, they just raised as much as hell as they could. It was the loudest pounding to where my bed was literally shaking and felt like it was rising. And I woke up to the sound of this, and then it carried on for another 3 or 4 seconds. Scariest thing I've ever experienced. And it took me about 20 minutes to finally open the door and walk downstairs. But with the sounds that I heard, that whole place would have been completely torn apart. It was like someone was setting bombs off in the house. I finally go back to bed, and I told Sean, I said, I need a place by the time I get home this week.
Right.
Well,
otherwise you're sleeping in my room.
I didn't have a place, and I kind of made myself go back in there. And on a whole nother level, I was at a very dark stage in my life at that time, and I felt like maybe I was susceptible. I think, I'm a believer, and I believe in the whole spiritual realm, and I think that maybe, that's a whole nother topic. But I went back in there, and I wanted to face whatever it was, and I laid down, and sure enough, 3 o'clock in the morning, same exact thing, to where my bed was actually like levitating to a point, like a small point.
Yeah.
And just felt like everyone was pounding all around my room. It was the scariest thing you could ever imagine, to waking up to. And it carried on for another 4 or 5 seconds when I woke up. And I just remember saying out loud, all right, I'll be out in the morning. And that was it. And I laid back down, I said a prayer and laid back down. Yeah.
I will never, ever write in that building again.